SpaceX just broke support. I want to walk you through exactly what I'm watching next. Plus, I got 4 stocks breaking out today: gold, Bitcoin, Apple, and Tesla. We're going to walk through all of those as well. But let's go ahead and start with the SpaceX. So I've been sharing this upward channel that the stock has been trading in. Today, it broke that channel to the downside. It didn't have a ton of follow through, but what do we do now? Here's the way I like to look at it. Essentially, what we're just seeing is slowing momentum. This upward channel is starting to go a little bit more sideways. It's still moving up a little bit because it has higher lows, being a low and a higher low. It's just not moving up with the same velocity. So here's what I'm looking at now. Looks more like something like that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and delete this trend line, and I think this could be the new trend line support for SpaceX. The MACD on the 30-minute, which has been so clutch for the stock, is unwound completely to the downside. In fact, we had 2 unwinds. You can see one there and a second little wave there. Now the stock is basically compressing. It's going sideways down here. If this baby crosses to the bulls, we're going to have a huge whip to the upside. Importantly, though, we have a massive unlock that's happening tomorrow regarding SpaceX shares. Now, the last time this happened, the stock absolutely skyrocketed. A lot of people thought it would sell off. Here's some thinking behind that. Either institutions came in and gobbled up all the shares, or simply nobody who could sell shares did, which means they believe in the long-term picture here in the long-term story with SpaceX. Okay, so what I'm watching next is for the stock to potentially hold this level right around 137, 138, let's call it in here. If it can, watch for a large bounce back up to 145, maybe even $150. Now, if this level breaks, though, to the downside tomorrow, I think 135 and possibly even $130 is going to be the next level I watch. When we hop to the daily chart, check this out. You can see this current payday cycle right here that lasted for about 7 or 8 days. It's come to an end. We've been going sideways. We're no longer moving up inside this bullish momentum cycle. We're now kind of going sideways. In fact, today we got our first red bar on the Heikin Ashi. So if this baby breaks to the downside, we're definitely going to be rolling over back to the downside. We're going to be starting a bearish momentum cycle, which means bulls, you got to be caution. You got to have some caution here. Okay, until we pivot and form a capitulation or reversal back to the upside, you have to have a little caution. We're not in that same steep rise that we had just over the last couple of weeks. So watch those levels closely. Now, here's a few stocks that are breaking out that had strong moves today, 2 of which I covered yesterday. The first one is Tesla. Okay, Tesla I've been covering all week. It had a huge move up today. Check out the candlestick. Bada beam, bada boom. I mean, that is a strong candle. The MACD, guess what, is already crossed to the bulls. It's already trending up. Look at that. Okay, would you look at that? Very, very nice. The stock hit a high right against that DOJI. You remember earlier this week I said, now that we have that wick in place, if Tesla moves back up into that wick, it's a very bullish signal, like an 11 out of 10 bullish signal. Now here's what I'm watching. If we can get above and stay above this 351, we've got a nice attack pattern into a potential gap fill, actually coming more like that, which would bring us all the way to $375. Now, I always like to take a programmatic approach to trading, creating if-then scenarios to look at both cases, okay? So I'm watching 351. If this fails to get above tomorrow and instead we form an inside day, I would consider this to be more sideways, and I'd actually put support down at 330. But again, above 351, we've got a lot of room to the upside here, folks. A lot of nice momentum in Tesla. Now, here's a cool one. Yesterday, I posted about Apple. Why? Because we had a DOJI, we had a break above the DOJI, and now we're accelerating. Do you remember I had shared that as long as we make new daily highs, close at new daily highs, and even better, if these Heikin Ashi bars start getting bigger, right, as they are here, that's a clear signal that momentum is actually accelerating to the upside. And I love the DOJI because essentially the way you trade this is you buy above the DOJI and you put your stop below the DOJI. Right off the get-go, you can see it's already been a 2-to-1 risk-reward, a very, very nice setup. Now, the MACD hasn't crossed yet, but gosh, it's getting really, really close. Once this MACD crosses, usually we get a trade for about a month. Now, one little cautionary note here is that we're wrapping up August. Now, historically, August is a pretty decent month for the stock, but September's not. September's one of the worst months of the year for tech. You can kind of see it. It's right here is September. In fact, when we hop over to the Qs, look at this. September is the most bearish month of the year for technology. So historically, we get a market sell-off in September. Looking at SPY, again, you're going to see the same thing. It's obvious September is a very bearish seasonal month for the stock market, okay? So you got to have a little bit of caution with that. You got to pay attention to momentum. Now, I'm seeing Tesla and Apple shaping up well. We also have gold. Check this out. Gold had a breakout today, right? This thing is moving. I really like it because the weekly MACD, look at that, folks. Bada beam, bada boom. Let's take a look at the candle. Has crossed the bulls. In my view, as long as the GLD gold can hold above $400, it's rounding and it's bullish. The GDX was actually a little bit even more bullish ahead of this and gave us a nice clue. Now, here's what I'm going to leave you with today. Bitcoin. I'm using GBTC. I covered this a couple of days ago. Here's the weekly chart, right? Weekly chart is already bullish. I had shared that the daily was forming a pennant, a little bit of a wedge. It was starting a bullish payday cycle, and today we had a breakout. More importantly, folks, check it out. Remember how I mentioned we'll be looking for the MACD to cross to the bulls? Well, we got that. We got that cross. Now, I'm curious to see how many people here caught the Bitcoin breakout. I want to cover this strategy really quickly. I talk a lot about the MACD, so let's just go over some data here because I'm all about data. At Wall Street AO, we built our own strategy lab where we can backtest all of the most popular indicators. I'm going to bring them up right here. Check this out. I'm going to move my bobblehead, but we could backtest ADX, Bollinger Bands, DMI, Heikin-Ashi, Keltner Channel, moving averages, parabolic SAR, RSI, stochastics, Williams percent R. I like the MACD still. So we've tested so many things here, so many indicator combinations, and the MACD still works great. I want to review some of the results here for trading the GBTC, which is essentially Bitcoin ETF, with something as silly and simple as just a MACD cross. Okay, crosses to the upside, you're bullish. Crosses back down, you're bearish. It's got a 3.4 risk reward. Look at that right there. I got my mouse on it. Average gain is 30%. Average loss is 8%. Now this is about a coin toss, right? 46%. But when your winners are 3 times larger than your losing trades, it's something to pay attention to. And right now, we got a nice MACD cross. The entry point was today right around $50. I hope all of you caught this one. I've been covering this one and I can keep covering it. If you have a ticker you want me to review in one of my next videos, post it below as a comment. This is Michael Lamar. Follow along for more. If you like these updates, I'll be filming more throughout the week, and I'll see you in the next video.